Thank you for joining us this morning for the official grand opening of AltaSea's Center for Innovation. This is really a momentous occasion in the evolution of AltaSea and this 110-year-old pier. Over a century ago, Henry Huntington wanted to have an undersea garden here, and today we grow algae and kelp. And in World War I, we had submarines stationed right here, outside there, and now we have underwater robotics being tested here. Then, Edward Doheny moved crude oil over these docks in the same spot where EcoWave will soon generate energy from the tides. And then back then, we had some pretty cool vessels that berthed at this dock, including the USS Constitution, and today we have Bob Ballard's Nautilus and research vessels from organizations like National Geographic. And so while this pier became somewhat of a white elephant, today its future is blue, destined to become the world center for the blue economy. I can still remember the initial discussions with the late Leonard Aubie, who was leading the Annenberg Foundation, when we met to figure out how to bring about the transformation of these warehouses. Now, 15 plus years later, that vision is a reality and AltaSea is flourishing. We are here to thank Len's vision and leadership and the generosity of our donors and the support of our good friends, many of whom are here today. So first, a huge thank you to our donors, especially the Annenberg Foundation, our first and still our largest donor. And another thank you to my fellow board member, Melanie, with her husband, Richard Lundquist. Their gift of $5 million has been critical to our growth. We are grateful to both Senator Alex Padilla, who could not be here today, and Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, who is joining us. They have helped shine a light on AltaSea's work in DC and directed federal funds to AltaSea for educational programs, science labs, and research programs. We've been also fortunate to have strong allies in Sacramento, State Senator Stephen Bradford and Assembly Member Mike Gibson. So Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn could not join us today, but she was here last week for a preview. She has helped catapult the ocean economy to new heights. Along with the LA Economic Development Corporation, she officially named the ocean economy as an official job sector in 2020, putting the blue economy on the map in Los Angeles. And thank you, Mayor Bass, for leading our ribbon cutting. Your focus on the environment ensures that Los Angeles continues to lead the way on combating climate change. And next to her, Councilmember Tim McOsker, who isn't just a council member representing the 1-5, but he's our former CEO, and his work and the work that he did with the port on the AltaSea lease really ensured AltaSea's future at the Port of Los Angeles. And finally, I'd like to thank our landlord, the Port of Los Angeles. I'd like to recognize Executive Director Jean Seroka and the entire board of harbor commissioners, including its president, former Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard, Commissioners Lee Williams, Diane Middleton, Michael Munoz, and Ed Renwick. So now it's my pleasure to turn the podium over to our president and CEO, Terry Tamminen. A little over 2 years ago, Terry joined the AltaSea family and helped put AltaSea on the map. Terry is one of the foremost leaders on the environment in the world, stemming from his collaboration with Governor Schwarzenegger as the former California EPA Secretary. Please join me in welcoming Terry Tamminen, our President and CEO.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you so much. I want to start by recognizing that today we are standing and sitting on the ancestral lands of the Tongva, the Gabrielino, and the Chumash nations, and that they are still here, very much here. There's a wonderful exhibit over here of some of the culture, and you're going to see much more of that represented here in the engagement center of Berth 58 going forward. But welcome all. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you, Geraldine. As she said, you know, all of you are the proud parents today. You all had a hand in getting us to where we are. And there's just no way we can possibly say thank you and show enough gratitude for the work and the dedication that all of you have poured in to get to this incredibly important day. Shakespeare said, "To climb steep hills requires a slow pace at first." Well, it's taken almost a decade, but thanks to all of you, we made it. And I especially want to thank Geraldine, both for her leadership when she ran the port and had this idea, and today as the chair of AltaSea's Board of Trustees. And all of our board has been here every step of the way, guiding AltaSea from concept to reality. So please allow me to thank each of them by name, starting with Martin Blank, with Yehudi Gaffin, Cynthia Hirschhorn, Matt Horton, Carolyn Hull, Eric Johnson, Monique Johnson, no relation, Jenny Crusoe, Doan Liu, Melanie Lundquist, John Molina, Patricia Ramos, Wendy New, Tara Roth, and Greg Thorpe. Please give them a great big round of applause. You notice how many women are in that group, and we've got women running the city, our congresswoman, my partner Jenny Crusoe, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, all of our women at AltaSea. Yeah, that's the secret sauce, folks. But I really want to give a special shout out to AltaSea's founding chair, former harbor commissioner, founder of the Port of Los Angeles High School, and so much more, Camilla Townsend. We wouldn't be here without you, Camilla. And I can't emphasize this thank you enough, our staff, particularly our tenacious Chief Operating Officer and the Executive Vice President of AltaSea, Jenny Crusoe. She hates this, but I gotta tell you, none of us would be here today if it wasn't for her, and all of you know that she is the real heart and soul and the driving force behind AltaSea. Definitely the reason I'm here, so please, one more thank you for Jenny Crusoe. It's been a very busy month at getting the Center of Innovation ready for today, and many long hours and days were needed to make it ready for this Hollywood close-up moment. But doesn't it look fantastic for a 110-year-old? So a huge thank you to every member of our staff and the volunteers in particular, the construction team at Swinnerton, and all of the union tradesmen and women who made this possible. Please give them thanks for making all of this what you see today. And I want to mention that our volunteers are in blue t-shirts. You can see them around, so please ask them for information about AltaSea, and they'll help with guided tours or make sure that you understand where everything is at. And we, again, thank our volunteers. But at the heart of it, we're really here because we're trying to redefine the future. Our planet is in tough shape, and the urgency to address climate change has never been greater. We've long viewed our ocean as a dumping ground, a place to be stripped of its bounty, as if it would never run out. Well, instead, it's a precious resource that makes all life on Earth possible. And that's the crux of what AltaSea is, inspiring this generation and the next, to not just understand and appreciate the ocean, but to research and innovate solutions that can solve the global crisis we face. It's incredible the different solutions that we have right here today. University of Southern California's aquaculture lab is growing seaweed and kelp that's one of the most versatile sources of protein on the planet. It will help feed us and fuel our cars. It can even reduce freezer burn in ice cream. Who would have thought? Talk about versatile. We have RCAM Technologies that you'll see down at the far end of the warehouse. It's taking 3D printing to the next level, using concrete in its 3D printing to build underwater infrastructure for offshore renewable energy solutions. We have researchers from UCLA, from USC and Caltech, all implementing carbon dioxide removal technology from the ocean, cooling the planet and counteracting ocean acidification. And we even have our own bank. Beneficial State Bank is here to help ensure, yes, give them a great big round of applause. They are here to ensure that our blue tech partners get the green they need to employ a new generation of workers and build great businesses to win the fight against climate change. All of that and a great cup of coffee from Sirens, the local wonderful coffee purveyor. Thank you, Yolanda. Wave. That's it. There she is. So thank you to them. And thanks to everyone at AltaSea. Los Angeles is yet again leading the way on innovation and a burgeoning new industry. So let's have a round of applause for all of our tenants who you're going to meet today, all of our partners. 27 and growing. And as you'll see today, because now the basic core and shell is done, the infrastructure in the middle, all the new modern plumbing and electrical, now our tenants can start to move in. So what you'll see today is the placeholder. Some cases, Blue Robotics, for example, just has a little table and demonstration, but they're going to be moving in, taking almost 30,000 square feet to build and devise underwater robots and teach it to the next generation. The kelp lab we mentioned at the end there will be about 5 times bigger. Everyone's got their place now in this warehouse, and in the next few months you'll see them build out their space. But today you'll meet them all and understand what the future holds. So yes, this is about our future, and that's why we're very pleased and honored that Mayor Karen Bass is with us today. And I worked with Mayor Bass when she served as Speaker of the California Assembly, and I was EPA Secretary, and have been impressed by her ever since. Because throughout her career, from the California legislature to the US Congress, and now as our mayor, Mayor Bass has been dedicated to tackling the climate crisis in our state and beyond. In fact, just last month, she highlighted the urgent and continued work that our city is doing to address the climate crisis. I would argue more than any other city in America and probably the world, announcing a new climate cabinet and new climate plans, including zero-emission equipment and infrastructure at our ports to make sure that Los Angeles continues to lead the nation in clean air and climate solution innovation. Through her Harbor Commission and staff, Mayor Bass has been a strong supporter of AltaSea and has helped us get across the finish line for this Center of Innovation. So please help me thank and welcome to the stage Mayor Karen Bass.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to be a part of history. So I want everybody to just think about 10 years from now and remember this day that we were here to see AltaSea launched in a major way. I am very excited to be here and celebrate exciting progress for our economy, for the climate, and for our city. The Port of Los Angeles is leading and paving the way for the blue economy to start and thrive in Los Angeles. The Port of LA, America's port, continues to thrive, and we have maintained our #1 ranking both in container volume and cargo volume for 24 executive years, and in no part that is due to the leadership that we have in the port of our executive director as well as our commission. We know that the port supports 1 in 9 jobs in Los Angeles, and the port complex moves nearly 40% of the nation's container cargo, but now AltaSea will increase this by leaps and bounds, adding a whole new way for people to experience the port. I want to commend Councilman Tim McOsker. This is such an important day for you personally, who saw the vision, who led as the AltaSea's first lawyer and then CEO. He had to take a break from that, though, and come to join the council. But joining the council, knowing that this was going to be one of your missions on the council, give the councilman a round of applause. What is so exciting to me about AltaSea is that this is another example of how we are at the front end of a new part of our economy, the blue economy. Just as was described, we know the ocean has been used as a dumping ground, but to see the ocean in this way be an economic engine, and I know with our Congresswoman that she is going to continue to bring the resources here so that this vision is completed. But to imagine this as an educational center, to imagine it as a cultural center, to imagine it as a center of innovation. I think this will be probably such an important place and opportunity for our entire nation, if not world, to see how we can save our ocean, be an economic driver, and help our climate all at the same time. I think about in a few years, we will be bringing the world here for the World Cup in 2026. And just think in 2028, and the councilman and I were talking about this, one of the things that I hope happens when the world comes here for the Olympics is that you're not just here for the games, obviously that's what brings you here, but there's so many incredible parts of our city for the world to see. And I really hope to promote cultural tourism, and you can imagine the port being a venue for the world to come as they take advantage of the games. They come here, they learn about what we're doing for the climate, for the world, for our economy, and take advantage of the cultural events that will happen here as well. This is a historic day in our city, in our state, and I am proud to be a part of it. Congratulations to everybody who has worked so hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. And you're right, this is an area that's being transformed, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out, of course, it's not just AltaSea, but West Harbor. The moment you get off that freeway and the cruise ship terminal all the way down, and Eric Johnson right here, if you haven't met him, you should. He's the developer of West Harbor. You guys should get together because you want to talk about jobs, about an exciting community. Yeah, let's hear it for West Harbor. Raise your hand if you live in Pedro, Wilmington, or one of the harbor communities. All right, look at all of you. Thank you all for my job, because if you hadn't voted for Tim McOsker, he'd still be here. So I'd like to now introduce my predecessor, the council member of the Great 1-5. Tim served, as you've heard, as AltaSea's CEO prior to becoming councilman, and was crucial in guiding AltaSea through its growing pains, those formative years, and of course, getting us to today. Please welcome Councilmember Tim McOsker.
Thank you so much, Terry. It really is wonderful to be here. It's almost overwhelming. I was talking to the mayor a lot about the history of this building, and one little piece of history is that in 1980, I was a student professional worker for the Port of Los Angeles, my first city job, and one of the gigs was to clean up this warehouse. We were sweeping up this warehouse because they were loading cotton and not using it very well because it's not a very effective warehouse for modern logistics. And it just hit me when you asked me that question. When was it last in service, Mayor? And I thought, 1980, and I was in here. And to jump forward these 40-some years, and here we are. And here we are. I was also telling the mayor yesterday that it's really deeply emotional for me because, you grow up here in the harbor area, and we know that we are in an area that is overwhelmed with some of the pollution and some of the things that occur with the goods movement and with the port activities in this modern world. And we also know that we're working really hard to change the way that we move goods so that we can protect future generations, protect our air and protect our water. And there was a moment 10 years ago or so where Geraldine Natz and Camilla Townsend held a big meeting in this community where they talked about AltaSea at the Port of Los Angeles. And it was over at Crafted, or the warehouse next to Crafted. And I sat in the audience as just a lawyer and a community member and an activist locally and thought, holy cow, that is a moonshot. And I didn't believe it. I thought, that is an unbelievable moonshot. How is that possible? And then a couple of years later, pardon me for being very personal, a couple of years later, I get called into a meeting. Unbeknownst to me, Jenny Crusoe called me into a meeting where she was going to convince me to come in and be the lawyer for the organization. And Jenny Crusoe, if you don't know Jenny Crusoe, there is no force on earth stronger and greater and more convinced that she's going to succeed than Jenny Crusoe. Let's hear it for Jenny Crusoe. So I went from a non-believer to a lawyer who, of course, lawyers don't believe anything, right? They just believe they have a client. And over the course of those negotiations with Mike Galvin, which were tough negotiations, and with the support of Joe Buscaino, I became a believer. I began thinking, oh my God, this moonshot could work. When I was a little kid, we dreamed of the heavens, of space. We should call it outer space. And we knew that we were going to go out there and we were going to discover stuff, right? But we did not know what we were going to find. And today, little kids hold in their pocket more technology than Neil Armstrong ever dreamed of having with him on the moon. That's what the moonshot did. And so we have to remember that the ocean is space. It's space, inner space. It's space in this world. It's 70% of our planet's surface. And I used to always say when I took this gig, when I was doing the CEO thing, not as well as Terry, but right before Terry, I used to always start my presentation saying that we know more about the face of Mars than we know about the bottom of the ocean. I have no idea whether that's true. My dad always told me, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. But it's a good story, right? We know more about the face of Mars than we know about the bottom of the ocean. And we have no idea, just as we had no idea in the 60s, we have no idea what we're going to discover. What a place like AltaSea, as the world's largest blue economy ocean innovator, is going to discover. Is it going to be sustainable energies that we can renew over and over and over again? Is it going to be proteins that are not only good for our people, but are good for the earth? Is it going to be medicines that will cure those diseases that break our hearts? We don't know, and that's the whole point. We don't know. And while we are doing those things, and this is really important to me as a kid from Pedro, whose first job was a student professional worker for the port, we're also creating jobs. We're creating good jobs. We're creating good jobs that we don't know. Today, we don't know what those jobs are. We have no idea. Just like we didn't know who was going to make these because we didn't know these things existed. So here, what we're doing is we are giving ourselves a chance to literally save the planet. Literally save the planet. And at the same time, create jobs and opportunities for our kids. They'll not only be able to breathe, but they'll be able to raise families, and they'll be able to work, and they'll be able to enjoy a healthy and productive life. The future of this planet is in the ocean. And the future of the ocean goes through AltaSea. So God bless you all, and thank you for your hard work. And congratulations on this wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And by the way, some of those jobs that, as Tim says, we don't even know what they might be invented by some of you. So if you've got an idea of an ocean innovation, something that we could do with renewable energy, with kelp, with vessels, with hydrogen, cleaning up the vessels in the port operation, with ocean carbon dioxide removal, with underwater robotics, if you've got an idea, you should see Ann Carpenter of Braid Theory, who was #1 partner, #1 tenant right here, and they've got a setup right down there, a little bit further down here in the warehouse. Ann, are you here? Where's Ann? Raise your hand if she's here somewhere. In any event, go down and check out Braid Theory, because they will help you start your business in the blue economy. Check it out. Well, it's now my great pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Nanette Barragan. She's been a huge supporter of AltaSea, has helped us win federal funding toward building labs right here in this warehouse that will be built in the next several months that will power innovations and ignite the minds of students and researchers and those entrepreneurs I mentioned here at AltaSea. And in addition to being our Congresswoman, we're proud of her leadership in Congress as the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus as well. So please welcome Congresswoman Nanette Barragan.
Well, thank you, Terry, for that introduction, and welcome to California's 44th District. It's exciting to be here today, and it's exciting to see this grand opening. I'm glad to be here to celebrate this milestone for the Center for Innovation at AltaSea. And we've heard today many thanks, but I also want to give my thanks to Terry for his leadership, to the mayor of Los Angeles, who was a partner in Congress and continues to be a partner in the mayor's office. And I know together we're going to continue to advocate to current colleagues and her former colleagues to make sure we're getting every single federal dollar we can to the 44th District, the port, and right here to AltaSea. And of course, to Tim McOsker, who is not just a council member here, but when I first became a member of Congress, became somebody that I got to know and somebody who told me about the idea and the vision of AltaSea, and I said, I want to be a part of it. I want to do what we can on the federal level, bring who we need to here to see it, so then we can go brag about it. Just like we do about the port, we need to brag about it across the world, and something we'll continue to do when we go to the climate conference, and something that I have also talked about when we go, and we got to continue to build it and make it the best it can so it can be the example of what this country can do across it to build the blue economy and making sure we're investing in that future. And AltaSea's board chair, Geraldine, thank you so much, and everybody else who's been part of today and who's really helped. I want to thank AltaSea for its commitment to advance innovative ocean blue economy and the solutions to several of the pressing issues to create this sustainability. Now, this 35-acre waterfront campus sits at the intersection of scientific discovery, economic development, and ocean sustainability. And it's right here at AltaSea that leads this innovative research and development to make sure that we're doing everything we can to combat climate change and sea level rise, which we know when you're on the coast is an issue that's front and center. And it's going to also harness clean energy sources like offshore wind and kinetic wave energy, and restore marine ecosystems through regenerative aquaculture and solutions. And I love that this is really a classroom. It's really a classroom, and that's what the innovation is about. And so we've heard that UCLA is here with the UCLA carbon capture barge, and USC is here for the regenerative aquaculture lab. Who says you couldn't have a collaboration with UCLA and USC? As a graduate of both, UCLA undergrad and then USC for law school, I think it's the best of both worlds when you come together and you work together. And of course, thanks to AltaSea's Conservancy Seed Bank, and soon to be home here of EcoWave, a technology that I heard and learned about, and to see that we're having a woman-owned, led company come here to lead the kinetic wave energy. to see how waves are going to help bring our energy and help, of course, with the issues that we have with the grid. And so we need to continue to invest in those, and that's great to see that. As Terry said, when you put women at the top and part of that decision making, it's a secret sauce. So I really like that. I'm going to take that. The potential for, thank you. And it's one of the reasons why I was so proud to be able to pick AltaSea as one of our community-funded projects for Congress. You know, these projects just started a couple of years ago, where we have the ability to hand-pick just maybe 15 projects for the district. And this was something that I said we have to invest in and invest in early and to make sure we're going to get funding. Now, in Congress, you don't know whether you're going to ever pass a budget or not, especially with what's happening now in the chaos. But this was something we were able to get done, the $1 million, and I hope it's just the first of much more federal funding that we're going to fight for in Washington to make sure we build AltaSea and to make sure that it's the best it can be. And that will help, the $1 million that we invested in is going to help, will help our students, college students. It's going to fund this ability for them to do research here and to access state-of-the-art resources to build innovative ocean-based climate solutions. And this funding will prioritize underserved communities, which for years have limited the ability for capacity for STEM fields, and something that I'm very passionate about. And how do we make sure that STEM and STEM education is available for underserved communities and communities of color, and which I believe is part of us investing in the diversity and inclusion efforts that we have and continue to push forward. So this means our students will have more opportunities to enter into high-paying fields and live out their American dream. And so I'm excited to be here today. I'm so glad I was able to be here to join you all and to applaud you for what is an amazing start. And thank you for letting me be part of the moonshot, because this is a day in history that in 10 years we're going to look back on and say, we were there, we were part of it, but the work has just started. There is a lot more to do, and I am your partner in it. Thank you.
What a great partner to have. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And I want to mention something about the federal government and our relationship that you might not know, but the Department of Energy has a research and development arm called ARPA-E, which puts money into all kinds of promising new clean energy technologies. We are forming a partnership with them to make this the world's first blue economy testbed, where some of those technologies can come here and be stress tested, where the universities that you mentioned will be able to measure and report and verify the results of those activities and help those companies. And so we're going to be coming knocking on your door to help support that. But it's really exciting because if you go to ARPA-E today and you've got a new battery technology or some other kind of energy, new solar panel, whatever, they send you to one of the national labs. But if you come with something like wave energy that the Congresswoman mentioned, they've got nowhere to send you to test that out and to validate it and to make sure that the taxpayers are getting a lot for their money. That's going to happen right here. So we're very excited about that partnership, and thanks so much for your support. Give her a great big round of applause. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Port of Los Angeles Executive Director, Jean Seroka. Jean, I'm sure most of the time over the last few years when you've heard about AltaSea, it's probably been my good friend Mike Galvin coming in to say, Terry wants one more thing, or Jenny wants one more thing, and you probably went, what? But nonetheless, you and the whole team have been such great partners. You've led the port since 2014, so really throughout our journey, your leadership has guided the port to new heights and broken all the goods movement records. And importantly, Jean has set bold zero-emission goals for cleaner air and for helping our city to do its share to fight climate change. And as the world's largest port by volume, the nation's definitely, this is another example of Los Angeles leading the way. He and his team, and again, I want to shout out especially to Mike Galvin, have been essential to our success. Please welcome Jean Seroka.
Thank you, Terry, and good morning, everyone. It truly is a pleasure to be here to celebrate AltaSea's grand opening of the Center of Innovation. You didn't tell me we had this many people here. The butterflies just keep coming. This opening reflects more than a decade of unwavering commitment from so many here today. It's the culmination of collective hard work spanning back 3 mayoral administrations, from Antonio Villaraigosa to Eric Garcetti, and now to cross the finish line with Mayor Karen Bass and her administration. It's the support of the mayor and our board of harbor commissioners, led by Lucille Roybal-Allard, that have helped get this milestone project to where it is today with so much more to do. And of course, the vision all began with my predecessor and friend Geraldine Natz. We cannot thank you enough. And Geraldine, today marks another chapter in your vision to bring together our maritime industry, maritime science cluster, and the emergence of our climate-focused ocean economy. And has been said, but has to be said again, a huge debt of gratitude goes to Jenny Caruso, because someone had to sweat out the details, put all the pieces together, and go back and forth so many times. And it's been you, Jenny, that got us there. Thank you very much. And not only was it 3 mayoral administrations, but 3 council members, starting with now County Supervisor Janice Hahn when she was councilwoman, Joe Buscaino, who carried the laboring oar for so many years, and you've heard Tim McOsker's story, and one that brought this to the goal line as well. Thank you, Tim. And it's been partners like Braid Theory and Ann Carpenter. The Marine Technology Cluster is also so important and a component in our port's pursuit of zero emissions operations and trucking, of which we remain, Terry, the only port complex in the world to have on paper specific dates to bring those operations to a zero carbon future. As many of you know, that Herculean effort is on so many fronts. But AltaSea can help make us get there even quicker. Terry's longstanding focus and his expertise specifically in hydrogen technologies arena, for example, is going to be a great asset to all of us. And Terry himself was a strong advocate and key component in earning that hydrogen hub status from the Department of Energy. In addition, AltaSea's collaborations in a wide range of areas, from the microgrids to carbon capture to underwater exploration and sensors, wave and tidal energy solutions, energy storage for terminal equipment, and the list goes on and on about what's possible. And how many times have we said, Los Angeles is the future, only sooner. And what's exciting in all these new areas of the blue economy mean that our harbor enclave, and arguably the most important contributions to that community, will be its people. And as we often say at the Port of Los Angeles, community, environment, jobs, and cargo are pillars that we live by every day. Workforce development and training the next generation of worker in this economy is a major focus here at AltaSea and at the Port of Los Angeles. Just across the harbor in Wilmington, that will be the home address for the nation's first goods movement training campus. And that will have so much synergistic appeal with AltaSea, we're going to take this to new heights as well. Not only for the future of our workforce, but for folks of my vintage who need to be upskilled, reskilled, and find that last mile of their great careers to support their families. And AltaSea currently has partnerships with no fewer than 13 community colleges as part of the Blue Economy and Climate Action Pathway Initiative. It'll also be tapping into our port community's decades of skills in and around the maritime and fishing industry, seeking innovative ways to feed the world with aquaculture on land and at sea. For students, academia, scientists, and entrepreneurs, AltaSea's community of tenants and partners will create new pathways for the 21st century careers and business opportunities that lie before us. The growth and diversity of job clusters like AltaSea encompasses will assist with the long-term success of this port and the workforce that powers it. Completion of this latest phase of AltaSea's long-term plan for City Dock 1 also means that Los Angeles can now lay claim to being home to the largest ocean-focused research and development campus in the world. This center now is well established as an asset to our port ecosystem and one that puts Southern California on the map as a leader and driving force in shaping the blue economy for the future. And last, in closing, I want to thank our staff at the Port of Los Angeles, as was mentioned in names that are so famous here in and around this port. Mike Galvin, your tireless effort in commercial real estate to bring this dream all the way to this day with unwavering enthusiasm is so greatly appreciated. That is what we call Pola Pride. Dina Arian-Zalen, whose engineering team has worked day and night to find new ways to bring this 110-year-old beauty and its future right before our eyes. It's Tim Clark's construction and maintenance team that did all the digging and all the hard work. And our Port Stakeholder Engagement Bureau, led by David Libatique, who is right now signing yet another green shipping corridor MOU with the Shenzhen municipal government up in San Francisco to bring more clean ships here to the Port of Los Angeles. We owe you all a great deal of thanks, and it's the work we do every day that we're so proud of that brings us here. Terry, Jenny, Robin, and the AltaSea folks, thanks for letting us be a part of today, every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. A great big round of applause for the whole port staff. And I want to especially acknowledge our port security staff and our fire marshal, who have been really instrumental in helping us get this place open and be safe. Please thank them as well. Well, it's a time to stop talking, but I want you to use your imagination for one moment. Think about all of the people in 110 years that have come through this building. Think about all those who are yet to come. Think about the inspiration. You heard how Tim, 40-some years ago, was inspired when he came through this building, and look what happened to him. I mean, look what happened to him. My father, on his way to the Pacific Theater of War in World War II, came through these buildings. But think about the future. Imagine 60 years ago, you're in Silicon Valley and you're in a garage with Steve Jobs, and he's thinking about the future of communication, of the way we're going to live our lives. Well, we got a bigger garage. So we want you all to come join us. And as part of that, we want you to talk to our staff, our volunteers today, enjoy seeing the campus, look at the maps, figure out who's going to be where, so when you come back the next time and you see their space built out, you'll say, oh, I was there that day when you just had a little table and an exhibit and you were showing us what you were going to build out. All that construction starts literally tomorrow, now that we've had this grand opening. And you are a part of it. You are now among those many people who have come through this place and made history. So please say hello to our team, say hello to each other. Our Blue Marketplace is in the Parsons Education Center back there in that little white building where the restrooms are and so forth. Please visit there, become a member of AltaSea. You can get some great swag and support the cause. But please don't be a stranger. We want you all to come back. This is where the public will be meeting over and over again to understand the blue economy and to share it with us. Shakespeare, once again, kind of said it best when he said, I can no other answer make but thanks and more thanks. Thanks to all of you for being here today. Go out and enjoy. One, two, three.